Welcome to the Vantage Fit Corporate Wellness Podcast. This podcast is sponsored by Vantage Fit, the all-in-one AI-powered corporate wellness platform developed by Vantage Circle.
I believe many of you are familiar with the concept of Ikigai. Ikigai is a Japanese concept that represents a person's reason for being or the source of their passion and purpose in life. So today in this podcast, we'll talk more about Ikigai and finding Ikigai at work.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Vantage Fit Corporate Wellness Podcast. I'm your host Dipshi, and today I have with me a biotechnologist, Jayashmita Barman. Welcome to the show, Jayashmita.
Thank you, Dipshi. Really glad to be here.
It's our pleasure to have you here, Jayashmita. Thank you so much for giving us your time. So before beginning with our topic, can you please introduce yourself to our listeners and tell us about your wellness journey?
Yeah, sure. I did my bachelor's in something called medical biotechnology from Guwahati University back in 2012 to 16. At that point in time, it was a very new course, and we were in fact the first batch to graduate as medical biotechnologists. And after that, I did my MTech from NIT Durgapur. And then I got placed in the industry basically, and I've been working for 5 years in the biopharma sector.
Okay.
Speaking about the wellness journey, I think it took me quite a while to find the balance between work and, life. But I think I'm at a place in life right now where I can talk about corporate wellness, about finding meaning in your work. So I think that this is a really nice platform for me to speak at.
Amazing, Jayashmita. Also, like you mentioned, you have studied in Guwahati University, right?
Yeah.
Yes, I am also an alumni of Guwahati University.
Oh, that's great.
Yes. So, okay. So, as let's begin with our topic of today. So, which is finding Ikigai at your workplace. So, I know a bit about Ikigai. Like, it means life's purpose, right?
Yes, yeah. So, a couple of years ago, I think this book became really popular on the internet. It's called Ikigai, and a lot of people started reading it. I never got around to reading the book, but I did dig up about what the concept is. And from what I've understood, there's a Japanese concept that says, what is your reason for being? So what is the reason that you wake up in the morning? What do you have in mind when you wake up in the morning, that this is what I will be doing today? So Ikigai is roughly when your purpose meets what you're good at, meets what you have done in your career. So when all of these things align, that is when you say that you have found your Ikigai. So about 2-3 years ago, when COVID came around, that was the point when I realized that I actually have found my Ikigai. So that is how I came to arrive at this concept, and that's why I picked this topic today. And it's basically about finding purpose in your work and having that purpose in your day-to-day life as well. So that's how I would paraphrase it.
Yes, like you mentioned, I have read the book Ikigai.
Oh.
Yes, the first volume. Yes, I have read it, and it was an interesting book. And like you mentioned, right, finding life's purpose. I don't think it comes so easy, right? So sometimes I believe I also haven't found my life's purpose yet.
Okay.
And yes, it is a very different and interesting concept actually.
Yes.
So, do you know about its origins, and some of the elements of Ikigai?
So from what I have understood is that so there's this really nice Venn diagram that explains Ikigai. Okay, it's like let's say I am good at something, all right? From a very early period in my education, I knew that I was good at subjects that involved biology, but I was also particularly good at maths. So that's usually not a combination that people
Go
opt for,
for.
because when they say I'm opting for biology, it's to opt out of mathematics, which did not necessarily work for me. And then so that's something I'm good at. Okay, the next element is if I have taken that up as a career option. So my education and my career became the second element in this Venn diagram, where I have covered biotechnology, which is like a mixture of the life sciences and applying that for industrial application. So that became the career path. And the third thing is, when you find that something you're good at and something that you have chosen as a career path is also something that gives you purpose in your day-to-day life. Because right now I'm in the medicine making industry, and I find a lot of purpose out of knowing that the medicines that I am testing, these are going out into the real world, and people are taking these medicines at a much reduced cost, and it's helping patients across the world. The fourth element is that it's helping me to find livelihood. That means the work pays me. So all of these four things really have to come together for somebody to say that they have arrived at their Ikigai. So those are the elements that I understood from what I read about Ikigai.
It's great to know that you have actually found your life's purpose, and you have found your Ikigai. Okay, so tell us, so what do you know about corporate wellness and employee health?
From what I have seen across the different sectors of the industries, like there's pharma, there's IT, there's medicos, the healthcare professionals, and then there are other organizations which work in providing service-based industry, as we call it. So all of these different industries have different ways of keeping their employees happy in the workplace. I've ever since we started preparing for jobs and career, all of that during my masters, I have noticed that the people who go into IT and the people who go into, let's say, biotech or biopharma, they lead a very different lifestyle. Okay, because when you work for IT, you're available 24/7 on your device, and you can work from anywhere. But when you're working in something like the biopharma industry, you have to be present at the place in order to do your work. It cannot be outsourced to online. It cannot be done by cloud. It cannot be work from home ever. So that became very clear during the COVID pandemic situation, when everybody was sent home, but the essential services went on, and that included biopharma. Wellness in the case of these two industries varies very starkly. When I think of an IT professional and their wellness, it usually has to deal with something like, you're giving your 24/7 to the organization. You're spending a lot of time in front of the screen. So what works for a person in the IT industry will not work for, keeping an employee of the biopharma industry happy. These are very different demands and very different people with very different lifestyle, basically. So it took me quite a while to understand that when you have a 9 to 5 or 9 to 6 defined presence in the organization, and our jobs are very physical in nature, like we have to be physically present at certain places, at laboratories, at at the workplace, at the workbench, rather, as we call it. And you have to give your physical presence to the tests that are going on, to the information that you're passing on. Granted that all of this is recorded with IT help, with engineering help, with a lot of software-based technologies, but a lot of these things are still very manual in nature. So keeping employees in the biopharma industry, their wellness and their health in mind, it is something like, it is not even I don't think I would compare it to the medical professionals as in the frontline workers, because their work is associated with humans. But the work that happens in the biopharma world, that is associated with the background, that is how the medicines are being made. So the mental and physical health of these professionals affects the medicine that is being made.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm making myself clear. So the wellness of these employers is very much needed to ensure that the medicine that is being made is also of the best quality standards. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I believe, yes, employees are the biggest assets of any organization, right, or any industry.
Mm-hmm.
So if their health, both physical and mental health, is stable, then only there will be full productivity, right?
Right. Yeah.
So how do you think, like, how they can identify aspects of their work that align with their ikigai?
Interesting question that is, because not many people find purpose in their work. I know a lot of people who have picked up um, working in the biopharma industry who, for them, perhaps this was not the first choice, but maybe they just happened to have arrived at this and now this is part of their daily life. But to find ikigai in it is to realize, first of all, that the work that they're doing is going out and helping real people. To make this point more human of a story, I would like to elaborate that the medicines that we make, these go into patients with chronic diseases like chronic kidney disease or cancer or diabetes. So these patients have to live with their disease. That is why it is called a chronic disease, as in it's a long term disease, and the management of this disease is associated with taking some medication over a very long period of time, which makes this condition manageable. So when a person knows that the work that they do is helping another person lead a somewhat more manageable, somewhat less painful life, I think that gives them the purpose to do their work with even more care, with even more just value their work more. I suppose that's what I would call it. Yeah.
Yes, and what about in other, like in corporates, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, like you said, most of us are just working, busy, like busy schedules, are chasing deadlines, all these things, right? So,
Yeah.
do you think employers can do something for their employees to reach that ikigai?
Help them arrive at the ikigai. Okay.
Yes, 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 exactly. Find their ikigai. Yes.
Hmm. So this varies. This really depends on the culture of the organization.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that organizations which have a long term goal in mind to keep their employees engaged in the work would invest more in their training, in their in getting them interested in the job, because it's one thing to just get the job done,
Mm-hmm.
but it's another thing entirely to get the job done properly. For to get the job done properly, you would need employees who are interested in doing the job properly,
Mm-hmm.
and that means that you would have to train them with enough patience and care to teach them that the work that they're doing is actually valuable. If the training period, if the employer has not invested in training their employees to the level that makes them realize how crucial their work is, then I don't think the workforce would feel that that their work is of any value, and they would just think that I am here today, I can leave in the next 1 or 2 years, and it wouldn't make a difference.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's a two-way process, it's a learning process. If an employee learns something, and if an employer invests in teaching their employees, then the productivity and the output that the particular employee can generate is way more than an employee who is not interested in their work. So to get them interested is to provide them with knowledge, to provide them with opportunities to grow, and to make their work feel valued.
Yes. Also, these days, mostly people opt for jobs just to make money, right?
Mhm.
So because of financial reasons and whatnot.
Yes.
So I guess a lot of people in today's world are working in something which they are not interested in, right?
Right.
So
I
that
completely agree.
so that way, do you think they will ever find that purpose in their life if they're just working on something just to make the money out of it?
So the way I see it is that nowadays everything has become very interdisciplinary. Let's say somebody began their job with something like finance, and in a few years they realize that they are not interested in finance at all.
Mhm.
And 4 or 5 years down the line, they find that there is no purpose to their work. They don't particularly find any happiness in going to the office. So at that point in their career, they can make the choice to either upskill themselves so that they gain some kind of skill that helps them to shift from a finance role to something that they are interested in, or they can opt for something different, like entirely different from what they have been doing so far. So I have colleagues and friends who have done both of these things, and I have observed that this shift in the career is a very brave thing to do. But it's better than becoming stagnant in a role that you're not interested in. It takes a lot of courage to shift your job description, to shift from finance to HR, or from you don't entirely have to shift from like the industry. It's not like I'm in biotechnology, I cannot go and be like, I'm going to work in oil today. It's not that. But because every organization has a project management team, every organization has an IT team, every organization has a QA, quality control. So you can always mold your career to fit into the industry that you want to work in. So this interdisciplinariness had opened up a lot of different options for people.
Yes.
So I think that could help people to shift gears and find something that they might be interested in. It's really not necessary to stick to something just because you entered it not knowing what you were getting into.
And do you think any kind of physical activity, exercise or meditation can help one find that purpose?
Oh, entirely. I mean, I'm a big supporter of like doing yoga daily. I picked this up quite late in life. Again, COVID pandemic, that really changed a lot of things for a lot of us, I think. Pre-pandemic, people were not very cautious about their health. But once, it became very clear to us that life can, just slip out of our hands at any moment, people became more careful that, let's go out and breathe green air for a while. So it's important to have a daily activity or at least a weekly activity that you do which takes care of your physical health. It might be a sport, it might be yoga, it might be just swimming or going for a walk with your dog. It's any kind of physical activity which ensures that you're not just becoming a desk job person, because at the end of the day everybody is sitting at a desk and getting that a build-up of stress in their bodies.
Yes.
So I think that physical activities do help people to find an outlet for their stress, as well as to, it just makes you feel more confident too at your workplace. When you have control over your own body, you also have a control over how the negotiations go at your workplace, or how you are dealing with certain situations, because it teaches you how to handle physical stress. It teaches you how to manage your response to difficult situations, all of that. So it's a continuous process to keep learning and evolving. And so, yeah, physical activity is definitely a big part of finding a work-life balance, or, the overall wellness of an employee. Yeah.
Following a healthy lifestyle is one of the important parts, right?
Yeah.
And can you just tell us, how is in today's world, passion? We often, like I mentioned, we often work in sectors which we are not passionate about, right? So, and for example, many people are interested in music and art and whatnot, but then when it comes to their careers, they opt for something which can give them more money at a lesser time, something like that.
Yeah.
So, what do you think the process should be? Like, how should people go about it?
This is a very nice question, because quite recently I had this interaction with a friend who is an aspiring writer. So he has written a book and he's approaching agents and publishers with his manuscript. And he has been facing a lot of challenges in this regard, because some publishers just upfront told him that you do not have a social media presence which is huge enough for us to consider publishing you. And this is like coming after he has written the book. I mean, he thought the hard part was writing the book. Apparently, it's even harder to get, a social media following so that publishers would invest in you. So he felt quite forlorn because of this, and he started talking about his problems on this website called Tumblr. And there is a writer called Neil Gaiman, and he's pretty popular. He has written some very nice comic books, and he's a very famous writer. Based, like his work is quite. It's a literary. I don't know how to call it. He's a literary genius, basically. So this writer Neil Gaiman, he got in touch with this friend of mine, and he said something. So my friend asked him a question that what happens if I don't become a successful professional author? At what point should I give up on my dreams? And that's when Neil Gaiman answered that, see, for most of us, writing does not pay. Very lucky and very few people are able to make a living out of their writing. So it's important to pay the bills, of course. So what one can do is one can have a regular job which pays them, which helps them to pay the bills. But at the same time, one can, keep on building on their future goals of getting better writing done, writing every day, or, expanding and networking for their own personal projects, and hoping that one day their side hustle, as people call it, would yield enough benefit for them to achieve that as their main hustle rather than their side hustle. So in Neil Gaiman's case, he was a journalist. So he still wrote, but he wrote for newspapers and such. So he was getting paid like that. But at the same time, he continued writing his fiction. And at some point, he was able to start publishing his fiction, and then he could stop being a journalist. So I think that is how people can transition from their job to something that they would rather want to do. Having said that, there's another side to this. What if what you enjoy doing as a hobby, when you are asked to do that as a job, you don't enjoy it as much? Because I enjoy writing. Personally, I enjoy writing a lot. I enjoy writing about my thoughts and, books that I read. I like reviewing them. But as soon as somebody comes and tells me to review a book, and then they say, this is how we want you to write this, and we would pay so and so amount for you to review this book. At that point, it becomes like, it's like I'm selling my words to speak for someone else. So I would not review a book just because somebody is paying me to do it.
Yes.
Yeah. So how would you, sell your hobby? There's no fun left in the writing if somebody is, telling me how to write.
Yes, that kills the creativity, right?
Yes, exactly. So
Absolutely.
that is another side of the story.
Yeah, so it's a long journey where you need a lot of patience and hard work and a lot of efforts as well. Also, a bit of luck, not to mention that.
Yeah, extremely. Yeah, luck is very important in finding purpose.
Yes, so
And at the end of the day, I guess it's fine. I mean, it's fine if you cannot find the purpose in life, because it's not always about, finding purpose at the workplace. It's also about finding little joys and other things in life. It's all right if right now you don't know what you are doing in your career. We do not know at what point it will become meaningful, or maybe job is not the way where you find purpose. For some people, maybe it's, creating something that is not considered a commodity in our capitalistic world. So the thing that they are good at, it might not be something that can make a profit. So if we think of it that way, that person will always think that my skills have no value in the economy. So we cannot equate that with like our personal happiness, because our skills are not sellable. It cannot be sold. So yeah, that.
And also, I think most of us live in fear. Like, what if it doesn't work? What if I can't do that? What if that doesn't work? Then so we have to pay our bills and everything. So we need a uniformity in our lives, right?
Yeah.
So consistent salary, consistent pay, we need that. But that is the fear we have, right? What if someday I don't? If I follow that?
Yeah.
So I believe it's a very
valid concern. Yeah.
And it's a big risk also for many to explore that particular thing.
Yes, of course. I mean, not everyone has the privilege to go around and trying, let's abhi 2 mahine ye karte hai, or 2 months later, this is not working out for me, let's go and do something else. So
Yes.
not everybody has the privilege to do this, so they have to stick to something and make it work till they can make it work.
Exactly. Okay, so Jayashmita, we are almost at the end of the session. So before we conclude, so do you have anything more to say to our listeners? Any valuable suggestions?
I would just like to conclude with the point that in the corporate world, it becomes like, a lot of the time it seems like, the more time you spend at the office, the more productive you are, but it is really not so. Managing your own time to fit in with the organization's goals and still having a personal life is very, very important for your overall career growth. Because if you keep on working round the clock, at some point you're going to burn out. And if you want to be in this for the long run, you really want to avoid burning out. I've personally been through this a couple of times, and so I think that it's extremely important to draw our boundaries at the workplace and to make sure that we do not overextend ourselves so much and so frequently that at some point we are not able to take on the work that we once thought we were good at. So yeah, drawing the boundary at the workplace is extremely important.
And having a proper work-life balance, right?
Yeah.
Okay, Jayashmita, thank you so much for giving us your valuable time today. It was great talking to you. I hope you even had a great time as well.
Yeah, I had a great time this evening talking to you. Thank you for so many interesting questions, and I hope that whoever listens to this finds it interesting as well, and maybe we can have a further discourse on this going forward, and just to keep this conversation going in other circles as well, because employee health and wellness is not something that I hear talked about very frequently, and I'm really glad you guys are doing this. So yeah, great job.
Thank you. It was a pleasure, and obviously, like, we might hope to connect with you on a different topic sometime in the future.
Sure. Yeah, sure. That would be nice.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.
Thanks for listening to Vantage Fit Corporate Wellness Podcast. Please do subscribe to Vantage Fit Corporate Wellness Podcast on Apple Podcast, Spotify, and our YouTube channel for new episodes.